keep forgetting they're doing the preview thing. My phone battery is short on energy, so I'm not going to make this one too long. But there was a comment that was left on my last video where I was ranting about integrity, especially with children. And I want to say this, I'm not mad at anybody. I'm glad that people communicate. I want to hear all of your inner monologue and all that delicious BS so that I can help you shift that. Which is why, in a fun and cheeky way, as Divine Maverick says, I'm coming for you. You want to come and complain on my channel and you want to share your stuff about my parents were narcissists, my father, my mother, my brother, my sister, my whatever, my dog. We're going to talk about it. So here's the deal. When you're looking for support in leaving someone that you have narcissistically deemed a narcissist, and I'm not saying that, as I said in the other video, I'm not saying that you are the narcissist because they abused you. I'm saying that unless you are a clinical psychologist or therapist who has the years of experience successfully in practice, I'm talking like 10, 20 years of experience in diagnosing people with narcissistic personality disorder, if you don't have that and you are calling anybody a narcissist, that shows a great lack of empathy on your part. And if you did really have somebody who was a genuine narcissist, either diagnosed or undiagnosed, then you should be the first person to look for how to build empathy within yourself, including for them, because that is both the way that you heal and the way you get revenge, if that's really how you feel about it. That's how you get the excuses to have a break. Because when you build empathy and you work on yourself and loving yourself in the ways that an actual person with NPD has challenges doing with themselves, then you don't need those excuses. Then you can move through your life without going, oh, but I was fucked up when I was younger. Yeah, I get it. I was fucked up when I was younger too. Everybody was, because it's a generational thing. I defy you to find me one person who had a perfect life growing up. There ain't one. But instead of being in a place of, well, life ain't fair, so I'm going to be a shitty person too, if you really feel that injured by what was done to you, as is a natural human emotion, then the healthy, emotionally secure, mentally stable response is to go, I need to do some healing. I'm working on myself because I lack self love, that I don't trust myself, and I don't see anyone around me that I can trust. And see, because here's the thing, I talk to lots of people, divine feminines, divine masculines, people outside of the twin flame community, witches, Christians, Muslims, everybody, because I like everybody. And the biggest thing that I hear, of the good guys especially, is that they cannot get better because they cannot find a healthy way to put down relationships with people that they, in their minds, have narcissistically deemed to be narcissists. Because that's a very common thing. Hey, Melanie, that's a very common thing these days, all over the internet. And I'm not saying there are not people around that have undiagnosed NPD. I'm just saying that our society has become so narcissistic in that sense that we will invalidate anybody who's not agreeing with us, giving us the attention that we want, even if we could see they clearly lack the maturity to be able to provide for us what we would like, either in attention, intention, inner tension, whatever it is. Whether it's that we want to be romanced, like, I don't know, the fairy tales dinner. We wanted that beautiful dinner. We wanted all their time at dinner, or we wanted them to not talk to anybody else, or we wanted them to be the perfect support partner. You know what I mean? Like, you're not getting the attention you want. I get how much that hurts. I do. But do you know how fucking absurd that is, that anybody would go around calling a bunch of people narcissists and abusers just because they're not getting the attention they want? No. And you know what? There is real fucking abuse that exists in the world. Look at the videos on my channel. I've actually already liberated myself from most of the narcissists. I am now liberating other people from them. How fucking amazing is that? Right? And it's because I stopped and looked at myself without doing what my parents did or others did and going, "Oh, but look at my story. I have so few resources. You know how many times I've been broke as fuck and built a business from the ground up, bootstrap up because I love that. That to me is not like a, oh my gosh, I'm starting at a deficit and I've never had a break in my life. No, fucking make your breaks. Build your fame. You know what? Yeah, the system is not fucking fair right now. But you could sit around and complain about that, or you could actually be a part of the resolutions. You could be a part of looking for how can I overcome this obstacle in front of me. You could stop and say, instead of being like, oh my gosh, the whole fucking world is against me, you could say, you know what? Why would my soul choose to be born into. Oh, thank you, Millie. Why would I choose to be born into this lifetime? As a person of color, maybe. Why would I choose? Why would my soul, not me as in my identity so that I beat myself up for blaming myself for shit? No, I'm saying give it a higher meaning. Like, even if you want to go into psychology, which actually does take into account a fair amount of spirituality, it's actually healthy for a human to have some kind of spirituality in a psychological sense. It's self-soothing if you use it right. So even if you build yourself a delicious fantasy, would you like to build a snowman? People do that all the time. They put it in movies, they put it in books, they do all sorts of shit like that. Why not give yourself a pleasant one? Right? Why not say, maybe I was born into this lifetime with all this contrast, all this childhood abuse, all this societal abuse, all these fragile people around me and shit. Maybe, just maybe, my soul decided that it wanted to have this experience so that I could help lead other souls into a better experience, even if it's only a little bit better. That's still fucking incredible. You know how many people we have on this earth? Do you know how many beings that we interchange with and are interdependent on? Every little thing counts. I don't care if you're only just a little bit better than the people before you. It's still better. It's still better than sitting there being like, but woe is me. I can't get out of my situation because nobody will support me. Trust me, I get that. I've fucking been there. I'm there right now. I'm taking on like 20 to 30 different people that probably could clinically get diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder if they were brave enough to actually sit down with a therapist for more than a year, right? But I don't need them to be narcissists. I can look at them and be like, they're humans. They're part of this generational shit. It doesn't do me any good to be mad at them. I would rather enjoy the beautiful absurdity that they picked me. Like, that's all right. I don't think you wanted it to be me, but I'm happy that it's me because I can take this, because my soul chose this, because I'm strong enough, because I'm brave enough, because I have a good sense of humor, because I am humble enough, because I am stable enough. That's why I've been in these situations for most of my life. That's why I can be in a position now that no matter what's going on around me, I can acknowledge the reality of it and still feel grateful and still hold my integrity and still move forward and still not be in a place where I'm like, oh, poor me. But I can still have those feelings and sometimes say, you know what? Yeah, this is a ridiculous situation. This is redonkulous. You know what I mean? Like, I could still be there. I could still be mad one moment and be like, I don't like the way you talk to me. And I can have other moments where I'm like, do you have to use such miserable language when you speak to me? Could you just say yes or no when I ask you a yes or no question and still come back and go, you know what, I'm grateful that that went well. Or even if it didn't go well, you know what, I'm grateful for this test of my patience. The key difference is that I don't feel powerless. I don't feel unsupported. I feel very supported. Do you know how many people have supported me? Like, I didn't even know if they would, especially when I started talking about my own shadows on Facebook, good and bad. I had no fucking idea if people would actually support me in taking on a whole fucking pirate ship of people, right? And they did. Because you know what? The only time I ever believed that I was not worthy of that was when I was listening to the voices of the pirates on that ship, both from my own family and from them. And you know how they got there? From listening to the voices of the pirates on the ships when it was their parents, or their friends at school, or the TV, or comedians, or the radio, or the news. Look, in fact, pick up a fucking newspaper, okay? You want support in getting away from narcissists and abusers? Look at the fucking newspaper. Do you see very many happy stories? Do you see very many times that they're like, a life was born today? This was its name. No, you know what's in the newspaper? The obituaries. You know what's in the newspaper? Sensationalism, where they take bad news and go, look at this bad news. It's the same shit when you watch the news on TV. That's why I haven't watched the news in over a fucking decade. And when I do, it's mostly just to go, why are we like this? you know? Otherwise, I don't watch it. Because I don't need that shit in my vibration. And then people wonder why I'm able to do so much better with my life. Why am I able to lose 100 pounds even though I have osteoarthritis? Why am I able to talk about being a good parent even though I've had moments in the past where I've been a shit parent? Because I did not go where my family went. I did not go where my partner's family went. I did not go where society went and go to this. I'm a big victim and I'm powerless. And if somebody doesn't take care of me, I'm going to fail. Well, you're going to fail with that attitude. Fuck yeah. you know? What was it? Uh, a lesson in all things, still find it hard to ask for help. I'm desperate. You know what? I could tell you right now. In fact, I'm just going to do it. This one's for free. Desperation energy. Go on YouTube. Look up desperation vibration. There's a couple people. Abraham Hicks is one, but like you might not be in a vibration to be able to sit and listen through some of her desperation talks, but it's definitely valuable. There's another gal too. I will share it on my thing. She helped me a lot with that. When you have anxious attachment, which is another thing that is beautiful to look up and learn about, attachment traumas, it will teach you so much about yourself. You will see yourself in there and go, oh, this isn't my identity. This is the conditioning that was brought into me by the way that I grew up. And when you go through that shadow work, then you can get to a place where you can recognize the only reason that we stay involved with people that are disrespecting us or lacking in empathy or maturity to be able to provide the kinds of attention or support that we would need is because we are reflecting them. We feel desperate. We're wearing a mask like a narcissist to try to prevent the rest of the world from seeing all of who we are. The way you get out of that, the way you get support, is to focus on that desperation energy. To be like, why do I feel desperate? You know what I mean? I love you too. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at anybody. I'm just, I'm in my DM energy. I am a DF, but I'm in my DM energy. So you go for that desperation energy. That helped me so fucking much because I knew, like, let's take twin flame stuff, right? I knew when I asked my DM after 15 years of being with him, 20 years of knowing him, to go find himself, to go grow, to deal with his pirates and potatoes, I knew in that moment that I needed to grow too because I also, I was very needy. I was very good as a Capricorn at not showing it, but I was very needy. I can also acknowledge that part of the reason I was able to not show it is I also have a fair bit more wholeness about me. I spent years asking my therapist, why did I escape this when other people didn't? And a lot of it is because of various different little experiences that happened in my life in between the abuse that taught me to trust myself. Okay. When you get into desperation energy, it's when you feel insecure. I can't leave my abusers because I don't have support. Why don't you have support with yourself? Why don't you feel like your guides are supporting you? Why don't you feel like, you know what? Why do I need support? I don't care if you got 12 kids. you know what I mean? You can find a way. And the truth is, the minute that you start to really feel like not only can you do it alone, but you would enjoy the story of saying, look at me, I did it alone. The minute that you do that, do you know how many people will stand up to help you? To provide all the support that you were not getting before when you were sitting there battling yourself, going, I need to ask for help, but I have trouble asking for help. And then when you do ask for help, people feel that weird, desperate energy and they're not sure if they can trust you, so they don't help. I've been through that so many different times. But when you're in a place where you recognize that you're going to go on the path that you're going to go on, whether you believe that the people you're leaving behind are people that you're going to meet up with again, or if you love them or you want to be with them, or you feel like they're people that you're just letting go of for the rest of your life, either way, people will support you much more when you are confident about your decision to go. A lot of people in this world get really fucking tired of those of us who have been or are in a place to where it's like, I desperately need you to help me. You know what I mean? Like, well, let's just say, yeah, you feel like you can do everything alone, which is not as good. We do need each other, but also, Like, see, we're humans. We're really fucking unique and amazing in this way to where, I mean, there's a reason we've had nomads throughout history. You know what nomad typically means? I mean, yes, you can have collective of nomads, but it means alone, right? And it's like, think about it. There are so many kids that have been so neglected that they were left almost entirely alone from babies. They may have had their diapers changed occasionally and gotten fed occasionally. They survived. You know how most of those kids survived? I actually learned this as part of my twin flame journey, and I took it as a tip for my 16-year-old who just never put through that. But do you know how those kids survived? It's called imaginary friends. Yeah. Like totally look up the psychology of it. We are human, we are social, we do need support. But guess what? I've never thought of them as imaginary friends. To me, they're invisible friends. That's how I raised my son with it. For one thing, because it's not crazy. It's actually quite normal psychologically. And he still says he still occasionally talks to him. That's part of it was like, you know what's wrong with that? And then, lo and behold, when I felt comfortable with that sort of self soothing, I didn't need to necessarily get it as much. I did not feel as desperate to need to go and deal with other people or try to get affection and attention from them that, quite frankly, they're just not in a place where they're mature enough to give it. It's not a personal attack. It's not that I'm lacking in any value. It's not that I actually did anything wrong that means that I didn't deserve it. They're just not in a place to give it yet. I'm not going to go to a place where I'm like, they'll never give it to me. That's what the rest of the world does. I don't want to be like the rest of the world like that because, ew. You know what I mean? And look at how many, you want to go and research any sort of dating thing, any sort of good parenting thing, any sort of how to make friends thing. You know what they all say? Nobody likes somebody who's in desperation energy. Even if you don't know that's what it is, you can tell they feel desperate and you're kind of like, ew, you know? And so it's like, yes, we are social creatures. That has been scientifically proven over and over and over again. But we have this beautiful ability to be able to do both. We can be alone and be social. You can pull out a journal and write letters to all the people that you would like to talk to. Good notes, bad notes, all of it. Just don't burn them. Please don't burn them. I'll do some talks about magic and burning and stuff like that. Don't burn anything. If you really want to get rid of it, bury it. But in any case, you can do both. You can look at it, and in order to free yourself from narcissists and abusers and karmics and stuff like that, you have to be in a place where, one, you love your shadows too. Cheated on somebody, you have to be in a place where you can acknowledge that was not appropriate behavior and also find yourself delightful that you did something like that, because they will use it. Like, I'm just going to say abusers because I really don't like the term narcissist. It's overused and often being used by the narcissists themselves. So I'm going to say abusers. When people are abusing you, which is not assigned to gender at birth, I don't give a fuck how many times you've heard sensationalized in the news and shit or seen the statistics that it's more men than women. It's not. More men get caught than women. It's equal. It's fucking equal. Period. If you have a challenge with accepting that, that shows where you need to heal between your masculine and feminine energy. Did I say that? I did say that. Yeah. So you want to get to a place to where you're like, I'm going to move through this energy in a beautiful way, and I'm going to move away from the energy that is holding me back and hurting me or allowing me to be disrespected in a wholesome way. I am not going to be bitter or resentful towards anybody that I'm walking away from. I'm not going to put them in a category of being so broken that they can never heal because guess what? When I do that, I reflect that I feel irrevocably broken and I'm not. And if I'm not irrevocably broken despite what I've been put through, then those other people aren't either. And I'm going to stick to manifestation and I'm not going to hold them in that space because I don't want to be held in that space myself either. And I am the first person holding myself in that space. And then the other thing is ask for help. You know what? You're going to get so many people that are, most people are not going to outright say no. They might say, yeah, sure, and then not do it. They might ask you a bunch of questions. Are you sure that what you think is happening is what you think is happening? And these are usually the good guys, right? The people that say, I'll always help you whenever you need, or I'm your friend, or the people that'll be like, but I helped you, you know? And they might have. But they'll be the first ones to go, are you sure that you know what you think you know? Are you sure that's the truth? Are you sure you're not just experiencing emotions? Jealousy, sadness, whatever. They're the first people to walk us back into not trusting ourselves, which should actually become your first indication they're not stable enough to get assistance from. Don't hate on them for it. You might call them in about it though, because a lot of times that's where you get to that place where you can recognize they're not mature enough to be there. It doesn't there's not a level thing. It's not that you're on a higher level than they are. You might be. But it's really narcissistic to be in a place of like I am above you unless you're just playing with it. Like I could play with that. You know how many people that I will be like, "Why are you afraid of shining your light into the world?" No, when you know and I know that you know that you could be helping people. You know how many people I've had yell at me and say, "Well, not everybody's on your level." And I'm like, how do you know that I'm up above it a level? Maybe I'm just 3 inches to the left. Like you're the one putting me on that pedestal, honey. And I could count at least 15 people who have done that. Well, we're not all as healed as you. You know what I mean? I'm not as brave as you. I have real problems. Like, what? You know what? I've had people fight over me. This was my favorite between a friend and another friend at one point. They were having tower moments in their place. And the gal that was my former best friend was just advocating for herself, and beautifully so, way better than she had before, and it was clearly working. And her friend, our former mutual friend, said, "Well, we don't all have an Amanda to help us with everything." To shift the energy. And I was like, did somebody say that about me? That's fucking great, right? But here's the thing, when we look at gurus, look at Tony Robbins, Abraham Hicks, all of them. My phone's getting low, so I'm going to get off here in a minute. When we look at all those people, it is only us that looks at them and Sadhguru and all them and says, well, they're just so much better than me. They got the breaks in life. They didn't know. You know what? Most of them went through shittier shit than you've ever imagined. They talk about a fair amount of it, but you can guarantee they probably don't talk about the worst of it. And not because they don't want people to know about it. It's usually just because they've got better and more joyful things to talk about. That's why they're successful. Did I say that? I did say that. Anyways, the the thing is, when you're trying to get support, the first thing you have to recognize is that if you don't feel supported on your own by yourself, your vibration is lack. Okay? You're putting out into the universe, I don't feel supported. If you have trouble asking for help, you're saying, I feel like I don't deserve help. You're saying, I feel too anxious about it. That's what you're focusing on. Call in what you want. Stop focusing on what you don't want. I'm not saying the reality does not exist, but in order to unmanifest the reality you don't like, you got to focus on what you want, even while old momentum keeps coming towards you. You know what I mean? So if you want to be able to ask people for support, then sit down, write out a list of 40 reasons that it would feel fucking amazing to ask every person you know for one thing. Right? Hey, Lolita. I'm about to get off. I'm sorry. I love it when you come on, Lolita. I'll be back on later. I just have to charge my phone. But like, write out a list. I'm not even joking. 40 motherfucking reasons, different reasons, that it would feel amazing to ask everybody you know for one bit of help. It could be, could you recommend a book for me? It could be, what do you think is the best color on me when I'm out with you? It could be, how would you feel about helping me chop firewood this year? It could be, would you come and watch this tarot reading with me? It could be, would you like to sit there? I could use some more playfulness in my life. Would you be willing to play a game of cards with me? Like, there are so many ways to ask people for help that really don't matter in terms of if they help you or not. It can give you an idea of who would be willing to support you, because if somebody's not willing to play with you, they're probably also not in a mature enough place to be able to help you get away from abusive people or break free from karmics. That's it. You don't need to be mad about them. You don't need to feel sad like you have less support. Move on to the next person. And if you don't have anybody around you or on your Facebook page or anywhere else, the people that can help you, go fucking find some. Go on and do karaoke at a bar. Go volunteer at a horse farm. Go volunteer with goats at a petting zoo. Go volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club with kids. Find people. Don't sit there and tell me that you can't because money or your past or your pain and shit like that. That's bullshit. Did I say that? I did say that. Yes, it is. It's bullshit. Doesn't mean I lack empathy for you. It doesn't mean that your story isn't real. It just means that the longer that you focus on that shit, the more it becomes more bullshit, right? 40 reasons. 40 ways and reasons, just to do two separate ones. Do 40 ways you could ask people to help you in ways that would make you feel profound. Like, would you come and draw in this coloring book with me? I know it seems like an absurd thing, but I would really love to feed my inner child and be in a place where I can just draw in a coloring book with my friends and not feel totally fucking weird about it. Okay? Think about how wonderful that would feel if you had one friend. Let's say you have 1,000 people on your friends list. You have one of those friends that was like, maybe they really, really were feeling the same fucking thing. Maybe you send one message to each friend. Would you help me pick out a coloring book and draw in it with me? Color in it with me? Let's say 40 friends. Make it a fucking challenge. Ask 40 friends, online, offline, whatever. Will you help me pick out a coloring book and will you spend some time drawing in it with me? It will really help me with some healing inner child work. I bet you get at least one. And I bet you that one person will be really fucking thankful for you because I bet you they were thinking the same thing and they didn't feel like they had the courage to just ask for it. And then write down 40 different things that you would feel amazing about that. Like, one, you found somebody who really accepts that part of you. They might not be able to accept all parts of you, but we got to stop being in a place where we need all our friends and all our family and all our partners to accept all of who we are, right? Number two, it will feel wonderful to feel like that person that is so magical that you asked for that and it happened to be what somebody else also felt like they really needed and were afraid to ask for. That feeling is delicious. Three, it makes you feel brave. Four, it makes you feel like you asked for help in a way you weren't desperate and needy about, so that when later you might ask for something that's a bigger ask, like a place to stay or assistance with bill money and stuff, those people are going to know that you don't just ask them for shit when you're desperate. You talk to them, you play with them, you get to know them, you share more of yourself than just the times that you're needy. You also, was this four or five? You start to create ripple effects because when you are brave enough to be able to ask somebody for something like that, then they're able to do that with others. And they'll probably come back and tell you about it, which could be feeling number five. Do you know how rewarding it is to have somebody come back to you after you simply asked, hey, would you help me think of a children's book that might be fun to read? I'm looking for some that were out of the norm for what I normally grew up with, and they give it to you. And then they have an experience later where somebody needed that information too. And they were able to go, you know what, this children's book might help you. And then they come back and tell you that because you asked that question and you were just being delightfully yourself, there's no strings attached to it, that they had another magical experience. And then you get to feel that fucking juicy feeling that you were able to create ripple effects that mattered. That's how you get the support. That's how you build yourself up. That's how you get free. Love your motherfucking self. And I'll see you all in the next video.